What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Nekroz deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck is one of those powerful ritual decks ever created, especially with all the spicy tech cards I've included in this build for you guys. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's go and get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing a single copy of Nekroz of Arbalair. Arbalair is definitely a one-of in the build, one of our big boss monsters in this deck, because this card is actually a walking negate. Then when a monster effect is activated, quick effect, you can actually tribute a monster from your hand or field to negate the activation if you do banish that card, which is a crazy powerful effect. We then play a single copy of Trishula. Trishula is awesome as a one-of in the build because this card just helps you spot remove cards, because this card has the ability that when this card is ritual summoned, you can banish exactly 3 cards that your opponent has, 1 each from their hand, field, and graveyard, which is an insane effect just to help you deal with 3 cards that your opponent has. We play a single copy of Valkyris. Valkyris is awesome as a one-of in the build because this card is when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can actually banish a Nekroz card from your graveyard and actually discard this card to negate the attack and end the battle phase. Also, when this card's on your side of the field during your main phase, you can actually tribute up to 2 monsters from your hand and or field if you draw the same number of cards that you tributed, which is a really cool effect. We then play 3 copies of Brayonic. Brayonic is really amazing in this deck as a 3-of because this card has some insane effects. You can discard this card to add a Nekroz monster from your deck to your hand, basically being the Rhoda for the deck. Also, when this card's on your side of the field, you can target up to 2 face-up monsters on the field that were special summoned from the extract and shuffle them back in the deck, which is a great ability to still help you bounce cards off the field. We then play 3 copies of Unicorn. Unicorn is definitely a 3-of in the build because this card is actually insane. This card has the ability that basically it's a walking floodgate. That you can discard this card to target a Nekroz card in the graveyard, except card this card and add it to your hand, and also negate the effects of face-up monsters on the field that were special summoned from the extract when this card is on your side of the field, which is an insane ability just to help you lock down the board. We then play 2 copies of Colossus. Colossus is really good as a 2-of in the build because this card actually searches our spells and traps. You can actually discard this card to add a Nekroz spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect. Also, during either player's turn, you can actually target a face-up monster on the field that was special from the extract, and until the end phase, that target's attack becomes 0, which is a great effect to help you protect your different cards like your copy of Unicorn using Colossalis. We then play 2 copies of Shurit. Shurit is awesome as a 2-of in the build because this card can be used as the entire tribute for one of your Nekroz monsters to be ritual summoned, which is actually insane. And then this card is tributed by a card effect, you actually get to add a warrior Nekroz monster from your deck to your hand. We then play 3 copies of Water Enchantress. Water Enchantress is amazing as a 3-of in the build because this card helps us get to our copy of Rite of Arameser and into our Adventure Engine, which is so cool. Because the Adventure Engine is extremely powerful in this deck because of our next card, Wandering Griffin Rider. This card actually establishes a negate on our side of the field, so we can go into all of our different ritual plays, and since we don't really normal summon in this deck, it's actually crazy. This card is really good in the deck as a 1-of and just helps out a lot in the build overall to basically just use this card as a walking negate to protect our plays. We then play a single copy of Dogmatica Ecclesia. Ecclesia is really good as a 1-of in the build for a Dogmatica engine we're playing in this deck, because this card has the ability if a monster special from the extract is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if this card is normal or special summon, you can actually add a Dogmatica card from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect. And then a single copy of Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis. Fleur-de-Lis is awesome in the deck as a 1-of to be able to use your copy of Ecclesia because this card is basically a walking infinite impermanence with 2,500 attack points. with my single copy of Dogmatica Maximus. Maximus is the best Dogmatica card in the entire deck. This card helps us step into so many insane plays, even helping us summon out a copy of Winda to our side of the field so we can lock down the board. This card is awesome because you can banish a Fusion, Synchro, Exy, or Link monster from your graveyard to special summon this card from the hand. Also, during your main phase, you can activate this effect to send 2 monsters with different names from your extract to the graveyard. Also, your opponent sends 2 monsters from their extract to the graveyard, which is a great effect to help you get cards out of your extract like Herald of the Arclight, so we can search out our ritual monsters and ritual spells, and also a Pokelone to the graveyard, so we can search out our copy of Shadow Schism, so we can actually step into a copy of Winda, making it so both players can only special summon once per turn after we've already established our board. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda is awesome in the deck to help us grab the exact warrior monster we want from our deck to our hand. We're going to play a single copy of Nekroz Mirror. Mirror is really good as a 1-of in the build because this card has an insane effect that this card can be used to ritual summon any Nekroz ritual monster, and you also use tribute monsters from your hand or field and or banish Nekroz monsters from your graveyard and then ritual summon a Nekroz ritual monster from your hand, which is a great ability to instantly bring out a monster to your side of the field. Also, the levels have to exactly match the levels of the monster you're attempting to ritual summon, which is an insane effect. You can also banish this card in the graveyard and a Nekroz ritual monster in the graveyard to add a Nekroz spell from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability to instantly grab the exact cards that you need. We may have seen a copy of Cycle. Cycle is really good as a 1-of in the build because this card can be used to ritual summon any Nekroz ritual monster. You can also tribute monsters from your hand or field and then ritual summon 1 Nekroz ritual monster from your hand or graveyard whose level exactly equals the total level of that monster that you're attempting to ritual summon. You can also use the ability that if you control no monsters, you can banish this card from the graveyard and a Nekroz ritual monster in the graveyard to add a Nekroz spell from your deck to your hand. We then play 2 copies of Kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope is awesome in the deck and just a really powerful 2-of in the build. It actually lets you send extract monsters to the graveyard to be able to ritual summon out our ritual monsters, which is insane because our extract has so many different targets in it, as we really don't actually summon from the extract that much in this build. We're basically just using this card to be able to use different cards in our extract to pay costs to be able to actually ritual summon, which is so cool. Plus, this card can actually ritual summon multiple monsters to your side of the field at once, which is crazy. As this card can be used to ritual summon any Nekroz ritual monster, also tribute a monster from your hand, field, or send a monster from your extract to the graveyard. Also, after that, ritual summon any number of Nekroz ritual monsters whose total level equal exactly the level of the monster that you sent to the graveyard to activate this effect, which is crazy powerful. We then play a single copy of Fateful Adventure. Fateful Adventure is great as a 1-of in the build and just really powerful in the deck to help us get to the exact cards we need, like our copy of Dracoback and Wandering Griffin Rider. We play a single copy of Dracoback. Dracoback is awesome as a 1-of in the build to basically just use this card to bounce cards off the field, and it works really well with our adventure package. We then play 3 copies of Rite of Arameser. Rite of Arameser is extremely important in this build because this card basically gets us to a copy of Fatal Adventure and also gives us our token, which is so cool to actually get our copy of our adventure token on our side of the field so we can basically step into our entire adventure engine. We then play 3 copies of Preparation of Rites. Preparation of Rites is basically the Rhoda for this deck, letting you add a level 7 or lower ritual monster from your deck to your hand, then add a ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand, so once you've already used one of your ritual spells, you can just recover this card back out of the graveyard, which is really cool, using your copy of Preparation of Rites, grabbing a copy of, say, Bryonic, so you can search out any of your other Nekroz ritual monsters, and also recovering one of your ritual spells from the graveyard. We then play 3 copies of Nadir. Nadir is great for our Dogmatica engine because this card lets us send a monster from our extract to the graveyard, and then add a Dogmatica monster or a Fallen Volbaz from our deck or graveyard to your hand, has attack less than or equal to the sent monsters in the graveyard, which is a great ability to be able to use to grab cards like our copy of Ecclesia or our copy of Maximus from our deck to our hand by sending any monster from our extract to the graveyard that has 1500 attack points or more, which is so easy to do. We then play 3 copies of Ultimate Slayer. Ultimate Slayer is great in this deck because we have so many good targets in the extract, especially cards like Nadir in this deck to be able to use with our copy of Ultimate Slayer just to deal with monsters that are on the field. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 1, and that's going to be a single copy of Shadow Schism. Shadow Schism is awesome as a 1-of in the deck. So your copy of Maximus can actually send a Pokelone from the extract to the graveyard, and then once you do, you can actually discard a card to search this card from your deck to your hand, then set it to your side of the field. Once you do that, during your opponent's turn, you can actually activate this card and banish your copy of a Pokelone plus a dark monster in your graveyard to basically help you step into a copy of Winda, locking down your opponent, where both you and your opponent can only special summon once per turn, which is not that big of a deal in this deck once we've already established our board. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start with a single copy of Lulurath. Lulurath is definitely a 1-of in the build because this card is our level 12 target for Kaleidoscope. This card is awesome because if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can actually special summon a light spellcaster monster from your hand or deck whose attack equals its own defense points, meaning we can summon another copy of Fleur-de-Lis or a copy of Ecclesia off this card's effect. We'll make a single copy of our Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel is an awesome 1-of in the build that we're just basically using as a level 10 monster in the deck to basically just use this card for our copy of Kaleidoscope. You're rarely ever summoning this card, but it's basically just used for your copy of Kaleidoscope, but you can use any other level 10 that you want in this card's place. We'll make a single copy of Trishula. Trishula is great as a 1-of in the deck as well, just to basically use for your Kaleidoscope as well. And then we have a single copy of Omega. Omega is really good in the deck as a 1-of for Ultimate Slayer or your copy of Nadir or even your copy of Kaleidoscope in certain situations because this card is just great to be able to send to the graveyard because if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one other card in the graveyard and shuffle both that card and this card from the graveyard into the deck. We made a single copy of Wind Pegasus. Wind Pegasus is awesome in the graveyard as well because you can actually banish this card, target one card your opponent controls, and shuffle it into the deck. We made 2 copies of Herald of the Arclight. Herald of the Arclight is awesome as a 2-of in the build, just to basically use in this build so we can actually search a ritual monster or ritual spell from our deck to our hand when this card touches the grave. We made a single copy of Titaniclad. Titaniclad is great to help us special summon out our Dogmatica monsters to our side of the field. We made a single copy of Elder Entity Nist. Elder Entity Nist helps us pop cards on the field, which is why we play this card as a 1-of in the deck. We made a single copy of a Pokelone. A Pokelone's awesome in the build as a 1-of because if this card does touch the graveyard, you can actually discard a card, search out our copy of Schism from our deck to our hand, and then we just set Schism so we can actually search and summon out our copy of Winda, which is great after we search out our copy of Schism using a Pokelone by just banishing a dark monster and our copy of a Pokelone from our graveyard, which is so easy to do in this build. We then play a single copy of Garua. Garua is really good as a 1-of because if this card does touch the graveyard, you get to draw a card, which is a great effect. We play a single copy of Totally Awesome. Totally Awesome is awesome in the deck because if this card does touch the graveyard, it actually helps you recover a water monster, which can be itself making an awesome Ultimate Slayer target, or you can actually use this card in the deck to be able to send to the graveyard off Maximus just in case you need to, which is really, really cool. I'm going to send a copy of the Tri-Brigade Arms. Tri-Brigade Arms is awesome to be able to send to the graveyard before you send your copy of Garua, as this card has 3,500 attack points, which is really good to be able to send to the graveyard, and plus, it's a good Ultimate Slayer target. And then I send a copy of Dynamundo. Dynamundo just belongs in every single ritual deck. It's one of the few cards in the entire extract, if not the only card in the entire extract besides Winda, that we actually summon, because this card is just actually insane for ritual monsters. So, That's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Nekroz deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try, because it's an extremely powerful deck that can just summon out some of the coolest ritual monsters in the entire game. And it's so fun to be able to play. So, that's good for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, come burn notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.